Lack of response. I have seen a ton of this lately. There's not an agent in our organization that hasn't dealt with this level of unprofessionalism. Interestingly enough, though, it tells us how our clients communicate, not so much that the clients are lying or that the agent is being deceptive. It could just be, and most likely, they just don't have their group in a group. It's difficult for people to respond quickly and efficiently as you're hoping they will if they just simply don't have everything together. They're not well organized. They don't orchestrate on their phone like a business. For them, it's just a chatty device, right? Really cool article from Northwestern University communicating research studied on lies in text messages, which was very interesting. When participants were asked to look at their 30 most recent text messages, a fifth, right? 20% of the respondents said that there were no lies at all. The majority of them said that 10% or fewer of the text actually contained lies or stretching of the truth. In other words, studies are finding that most people are honest, especially towards strangers. They don't have any reason to lie to you. There's no backstory there or something that they're needing to cover. So on the whole, I need you to understand that people aren't trying to lie to you in text, but the way social media is put together and the way we have learned to communicate in text doesn't give us a good communicative impression of trust when we're going back and forth. The quick, the one-liners, it's going, on a full day before I hear anything from you. The same things when a client reaches out to you and you give them the old, I'll call you back, but it goes several hours before you do. In your head, it's, well, they just wanted to talk or they're looking for an update and I don't have one yet, so I'll try to get them one later in the day. They're looking for more than that from you. And I realize we're all guilty of doing that to each other, even on this meeting call, right? The quick, I'll call you right back, or I'm in a meeting, or things like that, just to make sure that they know you saw their call or they know you got their message. You may need to go back if it's going to take more than an hour and just let them know. And this is certainly something that I'm working on improving too. Just let them know an expectation of when they will hear back from you. If they, in turn, need something critical in timing, they need to also let you know. Don't just call me and not leave a voicemail. Send me a text message and tell me, hey, I need to talk to you within the hour. I have a client problem. Give me an idea, elevate so I know how important it is. Tell me basically what it's about so I know that I'm not putting you on speakerphone around somebody if it's a personal matter, and I'm not putting you in an interesting situation in front of your clients if you're going to be with your clients for the next hour. So not necessarily are they trying to lie to you, not necessarily are they trying to deceive you by not replying, but you certainly want to take consideration towards an agent on the other side of the table. If they're not replying to you within a day, or they're only replying to you in voicemail and they're not willing to put anything in writing, either on a text message or in an email itself, there might be some things you need to dig into. The best and the fastest transactions that I have dealt with in real estate has had open lines of communication, meaning that I could call this agent at any time. I could send them a text message and they tell me a funny quip or a story or something saying, yeah, standing in the rain with another client. I'll be with you in just a bit. Whatever the situation is, you've all learned, especially those of us that come from a heavy sales background, you've all learned when a client's trying to stall, when an agent is trying to stall. And 9 times out of 10, if you're in a negotiative action, you want to make absolutely sure that you're translating what that stall might be. So again, it may not be lies. It may simply be them needing to get more time to get you your answers and they're not communicating that well. Or they're stalling because maybe they've got some other contracts that they're negotiating too. It's okay for you to ask them flat out. Be careful with your tone. Obviously, you don't want to put them on edge, but just let them know, hey, I realize we're all in the business. Is there a reason why it's taking you so long to communicate with me? Is your client asking you to stall or get more time? Is there another offer on the table that maybe you and I can discuss together to put us in a better position? All of these things are important. In other words, having a lying client because they prefer texting, or you've got a lying agent because they only want to call you, may not be a reason to go off the deep end on it. but certainly it's going to make you frustrated. And I'm trying to draw your attention to it so that you realize that this is common. This is a level of unprofessionalism in your eyes because you are all consummate professionals. You all came from industry before you were in real estate. So you expect a certain reply rate, a certain type of communication, a certain openness and full disclosure when you're having conversations. You expect this from yourself, but not so much. You're not seeing that so much from other people that are responding to you. Look, nowadays, having a client that only communicates via text is probably the most aggravating thing to me from one side or the other. I am a phone call guy. I like to get on the call. I like to hear the tone. I like to understand what the pressures are. Sometimes the question that they're asking you or the situation that they're talking to you about isn't really the root of why you're getting all of this additional inflection in their voice. There are some clients that only want to talk on the phone and won't reply to a text message at all, which gives you also the feeling of they're not willing to confirm in writing what we just talked about. I realize how complicated this is. There's nothing easy about real estate, but understand language is what is actually blurring the line between truth and fiction for you. It's okay for you to watch out for those guarded tones, for the repeat questions, the vague statements from your clients. If you or they are asking you the same question over and over again, and that you feel like they're looking for a different answer to try to just catch you in some kind of mistruth, it's okay for you to stop and say, hey guys, so you've asked me this question several times now. Are you not okay with my answer? Are you having difficulty with my answer? Is there something else we can dive into to make this an easier conversation for you? Don't be afraid to press back. Don't do it aggressively by any means, but especially to those people that you need answers from, the agent on the other side of the table, the client that you're working with, the client that's dealing with actually selling the home. Pre-approved letters and things like client lender information and, hey, who are we working with on the title side, or is there an additional attorney involved in this negotiation? These are all things that you need answers for, and maybe just you explaining to them why you need it might be enough. Trusting your intuition and your gut. Let's move on to that for a bit. This one is an experience play. This one comes with time. This one comes with maturity and experience. But the old, if something feels off, it probably is mentality. But it's okay for you to use professional judgment, but realize verifying how things are and probing and putting a customer or another agent under a difficult situation may not be the right way for you to chase after dead ends. When you look at through the deal, when you're looking for inconsistencies in the story, it may help you to know the intention behind the lies are. And let's be honest about something too. Make absolutely sure that the questions you're asking and the information you're looking for, the things you're entitled to. Just because you think you deserve to know what's going on in the background because you're pressing for something you need up front, does not necessarily mean you have any rights to that information or that the client needs to provide it. So make sure when you're asking for things like, hey, I still have not gotten an update on where you are with financing, and they're pushing back on you, they know that your job doesn't entitle you to that info. So maybe you need to pose your question differently and tell them that, hey guys, I'm not trying to get into your financial business. I need to know so that when I'm communicating with the other side of the table, I need to legitimately know how things are going. If you tell me something you're not willing for me to share with the other side, that's fine, but I need to know the truth so that I know how to move us forward. The key to negotiating, if I am acting in your advisor capacity, it's important for me to know the true situation that's going on, especially if you're on the client side that's having the difficulty in negotiating and responding. So they call this impression management. It's one of the most popular reasons why people lie. These type of folks really care about what other people think. They truly believe that if they can build a more positive impression in their story, that it will help you have a better level of faith with them. We see it in the career field and big corporate all the time. It's lighthearted. They're self-serving is what happens. The people tend to make themselves look better. They tend to spare themselves from embarrassment and punishment, blame, from getting others' feelings hurt. You know the type. You know what I'm talking about. You claim to have performed better than you really do, or you deny that something went horribly wrong, or you're embarrassed to tell the story. And it takes you asking, time and time again before you hear the story, and you immediately respond with, why didn't you tell me this up front? It wouldn't have changed things. It would have made you feel like you knew their situation more, but they personally felt embarrassed or felt like they were in a bad situation that they just simply didn't want to share with you. People don't necessarily lie to deceive you, but more often than not, they're doing it to spare their feelings, not yours. It has nothing to do with you. It's the position that they are in psychologically. It's the state of mind that they're coming through. Remember the old, you never know what's the full story from the person on the other side of the transaction. You never do. But when you have honest showings and you get client feedbacks and things like this, and it's difficult for you to keep them between the lines, turns out that the buyers simply couldn't put in an offer, or the buyers actually loved another house, or the buyer you're working with today is actually working with another agent and didn't want to tell you about it because their agent wouldn't get off their ass and show them houses today on a rainy Saturday, or whatever the case may be. The agent might respond with, hey, I didn't tell you any of this because I didn't want to push back on you and seem rude. Whatever the reason is, you can read the Psychology Today manuscripts every single month. But if you're truly wanting to learn about personality types, there's a whole lot of them out there. There's lots of insightful articles. Be open to their situation. Be professional to what they're doing. You're an agent of truth. You're an agent of fact. So don't put yourself in a situation where they're questioning you. And chances are, if you have presented what you need appropriately, the why you need it, how quickly you need it, you've set the proper expectations for whatever you're looking for, you'll probably get a more straightforward answer, which brings you to documentation, right? Documenting your interactions is going to help you point out, are you both on the same page? Are they putting you off? Do they need more time? Do they need a better financial situation? Are they being told by the lender, you can't qualify, and nobody's telling you? I'm sure all of you have seen several signs like this in the past, right? What should you do next? It's kind of simple. You don't need to be that human lie detector. Certainly step out of that role. You need to protect yourself and your business. And the way you do that is simply through documentation of your interaction. The document and those quick summary statements and those things are worth having. If you're using a CRM and that is working for you, keep those in your notes. It's important that you're putting dates when you're having these conversations, and that you're telling in your CRM notes box what the expectations are for next steps. Do yourself a favor, and I run into this with agents a lot. Don't tell your clients the entire process unless you're doing just a summary. Guys, there's a lot that's going to happen in this. Here's a quick summary. You and I are going to focus on one step at a time. While we're working in one step, I'm going to tell you what to prepare for the next one, but I'm not going to give you all of these steps. It's overwhelming. Things get in the way. Situations change. I don't want to put you in that. But you do need a document for each of those interactions, a summary email, a quick statement in a text message. And remember, if it's important to the transaction, please don't text it, only because you're not able to utilize it if we need to come back to it for, God forbid, legal support inside of the transaction. Quick, hey, how are you? Quick text messaging on, hey, got some information on the title today. We need to have a discussion when